Thank you. Good morning or afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Amber, again for hosting us today, and thank you, everyone, for allowing us to spend a little bit of time with you. We are very excited to be presenting ActivReporter to the Crestwood community and beyond. So before we dive in, we'd like to introduce whose voices you'll be hearing over the next maybe 45 minutes or so. We want to be sure to leave room for questions. And by the way, if you do have any questions as we go through this, feel free to type them into the chat box and we'll go through them as we can at the end. And if any do not get answered, we will have Amber help us send out answers to those of you joining us. So we're getting our slides to advance here. There we go. My name, like I said, is Brianne Van Reenen, or as Amber introduced us, and I serve as the brand ambassador for ActivReporter. And part of that is being the voice for Crestwood as an active partner. And in a minute, you'll hear from Sarah Brewster. I like to call her my GP guru, but officially she's known as one of our implementation specialists. And she'll dig into the software for us today. But before we do, I want to provide you with just a brief overview of what ActivReporter is and where it has been serving GP users the most. So we like to think of ActivReporter as a twofold solution. One is financial reporting, and the other is a data analysis tool. And combined, they have been allowing clients who are using ActivReporter to really get detailed and efficient insight into their numbers. And that's because of two things. One, it's always live data, which means it's really fast. And two, it's flexible. ActivReporter serves as a magnifying glass that lays over programs it works with, like GP and Excel, rather than forcing any program to work for it. So that provides you with a lot of flexibility. And the feedback that we've been hearing that it serves as a great replacement for both Management Reporter and SmartList, while also being very budget friendly. And we have a demo, well, we had a demo with a client yesterday that called us the new sliced bread, which was really exciting to hear. And processes that are normally taking an hour or more are taking seconds. So let's dig into the first aspect of ActivReporter. We'll first explore the financial reporting area, and it is Excel-based, so the learning curve is very low. And again, Excel retains all of its functionality. ActivReporter simply uses its innate nature for creating and housing. So the design, library, and publication stages that you might be used to in Management Reporter are all in one, saving our clients a lot of time in that quote-unquote guessing cycle of report creation, where you just kind of go back in and out and in and out. So here are just some of the features we'll show that are most popular. For the details, I'm going to go ahead and pass off control to Sarah, who is going to showcase some of these features for us.
All right, well, good morning or afternoon, everyone. Like Bree said, I am Sarah, and I'm going to switch over to my screen here. And we'll get to look at some of these features in ActivReporter. So the first thing I'm going to show here is a familiar situation. You have a user who's been distributed a report. It's come through their email as an attachment, and they've saved it to their desktop. So here's this report here. This report was created through ActivReporter, and you can see that I can open it separately from the program just using an Excel document. Now, this is a fully fledged report, and you can see here, if you might notice, I have a tab up here that says Activity HD. This is our ActivReporter ribbon, where you can access all the different controls that come from ActivReporter. So an ActivReporter user is able to connect this spreadsheet to the GP database through ActivReporter. This spreadsheet here has fully drill downable information that goes directly into the transaction level. And unlike Management Reporter, this balance sheet account, for example, is able to drill back all the way into the beginning of time. I'm going to just real quickly, goes all the way back to the beginning BBF entries that establish the original balances in the Fabricam database. So that is a great bonus there. And as well as being able to see every single one of the transactions that makes up the balance, you're also able to perform account lookups. Say I want to see one specific account. And now I have only that one. And then I'm able to apply filters on top of that to fully narrow down the information that I'm looking for. I have some pre-made filters that come installed with the product, as well as you're able to define whatever custom filters you'd like in order to see the information the way that you want to display it. So if I wanted to see only this period, which again in Fabricam is going to be April 2017, I can apply that filter, and of course there's nothing there. So let's look at the current year, for example. So there's everything from 2017 that hits just this one specific account that contributes to building the entire balance that you originally drilled down on. You can also apply multiple filters at the same time. So I can actually hold down the control key and put in different filters and apply as many of them on top of each other as I want in order to see the specific information that I'm looking for. So this is a great research tool that you have within this report. If you distribute reports to GP users as well, you are able to drill down from this transaction level all the way back into GP. So for example, this item here, I have a keystroke shortcut that I'll hit. And you can see that the journal entry inquiry screen in GP opens up here, which allows me to get into if I have any attachments to this journal entry, or as well drill down into the source document so I can do further research within the GP system. So this is a great resource to do your research within your balances. So this is, like I said, a finalized report. So let's look at what it looks like from a creator's perspective, from the accounting team who's going to be producing these reports. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this, and I'll open this. This is the ActivReporter program, and this is the dashboard screen in which you can get different status updates about your the status of the ActivReporter program syncing to the GP database. So what I'm going to do is go over here to this navigation pane on the left side, open the ActivReporter folder, and the Financial Designs folder is where we house all of our financial statements. So to start with, I'm going to look at that same report, only out of the ActivReporter system this time. I'm going to open it up, click Edit, and you'll see the same report here. And again, I have this option screen, which allows me to designate which period I would like to see, whether I'd like to see unposted entries, or if I'd like to limit it to a certain segment, for example, or a certain department within my chart of accounts. In this case, I don't want to make any edits. I just want to hit OK. And here it is. Now, you might notice that in this version, each one of these items in the formula bar actually displays an entire formula, whereas in the other one, it only displayed a number. That's to keep the end users of reports to, it's to keep them from being able to edit the statement in a way that's going to cause them to display incorrect or invalid data. But here in the buildable version, we're able to edit the formulas specifically. So again, here we have the drill down capability and everything you saw previously. It's just that this version is the one that can be edited and saved into the system. So how hard is it to build these reports? Obviously, this looks very nice, but we have to get here first. So let's take a new design. I'm just going to hit the new button here. I'm going to give it a name. I'll save it. And I'll click on New. This is going to bring me first to the options screen again. Now this is endlessly changeable, okay? So you're not ever stuck into one period. The way with Management Reporter, you'll have to create a different column definition for every year. These reports function year over year. So I'm able to go in and say, I want to do 2017 period 4, but this same report will work for any period. We'll hit OK. Now, the way that these reports are built is using formulas that we have added to Excel. So each one of these items here, the drop-downs, is going to provide you with different formulas that you're able to use to create your report. For example, one of the simplest is I'll just hit company legal name, and that's going to return with Fabricam, of course, because this is Fabricam. I'm also able to do little formulas such as for the period beginning. Now, this is going to by default follow the options that I've set here. So you can see I've got 2017 period 4, and of course this formula is returning 2017 April 1st. Now if I were to change this, I can go to February, hit OK, hit the calculate button to apply my changes, and it automatically changes to reflect the new period. Now, I'm sure you're starting to say, now wait a minute, this is going to be tedious if I have to go through and put each formula in individually, and you're absolutely right. So what we have is a layout wizard, which I'm going to employ here. And what that allows me to do is quickly create a template from which I can build my financial statement. So we're just going to start with a very simple income statement. And the first thing it's going to do is ask me what financial items I would like. Now, financial items is going to be your method of account aggregation. From the Management Reporter or FRX world, you're used to thinking in terms of a row definition. At its simplest level, a row definition is simply a definition which defines what accounts you'd like to see rolled up into one line and then displays them in the report. We don't call them row definitions, we call them roll-ups. We're rolling up a group of accounts into one line. But we are able to import your row definitions from Management Reporter into roll-ups in ActivReporter. It's a very simple translation, and it makes converting to ActivReporter a much simpler process because you're able to preserve the work that you've done sorting through your accounts and putting them where you'd like to see them, and you don't have to redo that work in ActivReporter. So in this case, what I'm going to do is show you the options I have. I can do by every single account. I can do it by segments of my account, or these are all the roll-ups that I have defined within this company. By default, these roll-ups here are going to be installed with ActivReporter. These are all based off of your GP categories that are defined in Great Plains. And I'll use one of these as they might be a bit more familiar. So if you keep clean categories on your chart of accounts, it's a lot easier to get started with this. But if you don't, of course, you can take your row definitions from Management Reporter and get started that way. So I'll hit GP income statement here. I'll hit OK. It'll inform me that it's going to create a layout with 13 rows. I hit OK again. And automatically generated, I have this template, which I can then format exactly how I'd like to see it presented to my end users. So that's going to involve, putting in labels, splitting things up and putting totals together, and making everything look exactly the way you'd like to see it. Now, let's explain a little bit what you're looking at here. These first 3 columns and these first 3 rows are what we call our metadata areas. The way that we generally recommend you build your reports is that you create these metadata areas and then you hard code information in. In this case, what I'm hard coding is the name of the rollup, the item of the rollup, and then that's referenced by this formula over here to say I'd like to return the description of this rollup, this item, which in this case turns into inventory. So what this does is enable you to copy down the same formula all the way down, and you can see nothing changed because every one of these has the same formula. It's just that they're referring to different items over here in my metadata. Makes it a lot easier to return things when you can see the result live, unlike Management Reporter where it's sort of that build, save, pull, look at, go back and edit, build, save, pull. So you kind of define your rows and columns all at once with your results here in the center. Same thing here with the top. I have hard coded in that I'd like to see the current period, and each one of my data cells here refers to both the rollup and the rollup item, as well as the period and the ledger, to say that I'd like to see the activity for the combination of items there. And that returns me with this number, which again is drill downable and drill backable to GP. So let me explain this concept real quick here of ledger. Within GP, you do have the concept of reporting ledgers to do IFRS and local, etc. But many people don't use those. They use just the regular ledger. Within ActivReporter, we have the concept of an actual ledger or a budget ledger. What this allows us to do is very quickly, with one change of a letter, I can go from my actual numbers to my budget numbers, and that makes it very simple to switch back and forth. So let me go back to the actual ledger here. And as you might expect, this is Excel. So everything that you can do in Excel, you can do with this report. So say, for example, I'd like to see this current period versus the budget period. I can sit here and I can actually copy this column. So I now have two columns showing actual. I'll put in the B, and now I've got actual versus budget. And if I wanted a variance column, again, this is Excel. So all I have to do is take the one minus the other, come up with the variance. Makes it very simple to get the data that you'd like to see. So let's look at real quick the way that roll-ups are created. Account aggregation, of course, is very important when you're creating your statements. You want to see what you're expecting to see on each line. So I'm just going to go ahead and close out of this. And we don't want to save it because I didn't really do anything with it. So what I'm going to do is go in here to this setup folder. And that's going to bring me to this roll-ups folder here, where I can see all the different roll-ups that I have built and saved to this company. So if I'm looking at, let's look at one that I've imported from Management Reporter. So what I'm going to do is I've got Management Reporter open here. This is the default income statement roll-up, or sorry, row definition from Management Reporter. Very simple, but it serves our purposes as example. This is my roll-up within ActivReporter, and you can see that each one of these lines here corresponds to the row codes here in Management Reporter. So I've got 130 for sales. Over in ActivReporter, I have 130 for sales as well. Now the row definition for sales is the range of account 4100 through 4185. If I look at the item here, we can see that the same thing is going on here. We have account beginning at 4100 through 4185. So it translates very well. It makes it very easy to go from one to the other. And the concepts are very similar, so it's quite easy to pick up. But we have a little bit extra in ActivReporter that Management Reporter doesn't provide. When we create these roll-up items, not only can I see that I have this range from 4100 to 4185, I'm actually able to go to this Chart of Accounts tab and see every account which is included in that range. So you can create your roll-up item, and then you can go over here to Chart of Accounts, and then you can verify, okay, did I get all the accounts that I wanted in here? Did I make sure that I did it correctly? You can do that second check. So that's going to be our roll-up items. Very simple. Another concept that I'd like to introduce you to within ActivReporter is calendars. Now in GP, you're used to having the fiscal calendar with your periods defined, and it's pretty static. You're not able to make any changes to it. But in ActivReporter, we're able to go into calendars, and we can create any sort of calendars that we might want to see. So for example, I've got a forever calendar that's actually going to display everything that's ever happened in the system ever. I can do a quarterly calendar and display reports on a quarterly basis rather than having to report on a monthly or period basis. And you're not stuck with any of these calendars. You can change them as often as you'd like. And I've also got one up here that I really like. I just called it my ad hoc calendar. If I wanted to see a very strange period, from the middle of one month to towards the end of another month, I'm actually able to go in here and define whatever I'd like my begin and end date to be, and then I can pull reports based on that date. So as you can see, our financial designs and financial statements are very flexible, and all of this data comes direct from your GP database. With Management Reporter, what you're used to is a concept of a data mart. Management Reporter goes out to the Great Plains databases every so often and says, hey, what changed? And then comes back to the data mart with the changes. What ActivReporter does is we put very lightweight triggers on the GP databases so that anytime there's a change on the GP side, that change is automatically brought over into the ActivReporter database through a process we call ActivSync. So this is actually very immediate and quick, and I can show you that here in a moment. What I'm going to do is, let's see, we're going to go into the data analysis portion of the ActivReporter. So here we go. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. So yes, so like I said, with the SmartList on steroids features of ActivReporter, this is more of our data analysis side. It's almost our anti-financial reporting feature because you can get so much data and all that data in the format you'd like to see it, so that you really are reporting. Reporting for the sake of analysis concept really becomes moot, and you see the power of ActivReporter here when, again, like Sarah said, it's truly live data. So you won't, yeah, I'm not going to steal any more of Sarah's thunder. I'm going to pass it back to her and let her show us what this looks like. Okay, let me bring it back to my screen here, and we'll look at this. So what we have in ActivReporter is a concept much like a SmartList. So I'm just going to hit on my chart of accounts folder here, and I instantly have a chart of accounts. Now again, you're going to notice that ledger concept here, that we have an A and a B at the end of each account, and every account is duplicated. And all that means is that all of the actual activity going on within your base ledger and GP is going to hit these A accounts, and that your budget information that you've uploaded into GP is going to be put in these B accounts. And you are able to separate by budget if you have multiple budgets for a single year. But we're just going to look at the A accounts, which is pretty easy to filter. Here you can see with that lookup. Again, we have the filter capability here as well. I'm able to see, I just want to see the cash accounts, or maybe I'd just like to see the sales accounts, or maybe I'd only like to see, the budget accounts, which it won't show because I've had the lookup. So now I'll clear that, and there's my budget. So like a SmartList, I'm able to go into the options, and I have a lot of information here that I'm able to add. But unlike a SmartList, I'm able to add actually absolutely everything I'd like to see, hit OK, and then it's already there. With a SmartList, it might take a little bit of adding columns and loading to get to this point, but it's very, very swift, which I really enjoy. So we'll go back to that. We have the same concept here with journal entries. So this is actually a listing of every single journal entry that's been entered in my GP system for the Fabricam database. But you can see, do you see how quickly it's sorted those? I've got 3,359 entries here, and sorting them takes no time at all because this is all already loaded. It's so fast, and it's so easy to use. Not only do we do each one of the journal entries, these are all drill downable, so I can see both sides of the entry, as well as, if I'd like to investigate it further, that shortcut to GP is here as well. So I'm able to get back into GP and look at the source and attachments and all that. So I'll close that. And we have a folder here further for journal details. So each one of the lines on every single journal entry, those 3,300 journal entries, come out to 47,000 journal detail lines, which again, let's go through that. See how quick that's sorted? I love this. I think it's fantastic. It makes it so easy to look through absolutely all the activity you have. Again, this is all filterable. So if I'd like to see activity journal detail in just one account, I can do that. And I pull up, this is everything that's ever hit this one employee benefits account. And every single line I'm able to double click, brings me more detail on that line. I can hit journal entry and see the entire entry that detail line is involved with. And if I want, again, I can drill back into GP and see it in GP. So it's a fantastic resource tool when you've only got fantastic research tool when you've only got a few details and you're trying to narrow down what is that one entry or what is that one line. You can go in here, pull it by account, or I can clear that out, and you can use these filters. So for example, if I just want to see everything that hit the payroll journal, this is default in ActivReporter, by the way. I can click on payroll journal and I'll see every journal detail line item that went through the payroll journal. I can then filter on top of that. I'd like to see everything in the payroll journal that happened in the current year. And there's everything in 2017 that hit the payroll journal. And then I can filter even farther and say, I'd like to do just this one account. And there it is. You've got everything in this one account for the current year that hit the payroll journal. And it's just a fantastic tool for research. Now, we also have a concept called financial views. This is where we're going to look at our active trial balance. So I'll hit the active trial balance here and look at that. What this is a completely live trial balance for every single account within your chart of accounts. Now I'm going to filter this by the actual ledger so we don't have those B's showing up. So what you can see here is currently always live. So to demonstrate that, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make an entry here in Great Plains, and you'll actually be able to see it show up within the trial balance in just a couple seconds. So I'm going to go into Fabricam here, make a journal entry. We're going to do a demo. And it's going to be a nonsense entry, so don't judge what I'm doing with this. But we're going to put in for 15,000, and let's just throw it in this account. Here we go. Okay. So I've created this journal entry, and we're going to see it showing up here in the savings, and we're also going to see it show up here in the credit card receivables. So keep your eyes on those two lines. These areas here are where it's going to show up in the period debits and the period credits. So I've created the journal entry, but I haven't put it anywhere yet. Let me put it in a batch so it'll save. Okay, and then I'm going to save the entry. And there they are. They showed up just like that. Now, this is not a posted entry. This entry is unposted. It's sitting in a batch. So if I were to untick this checkbox here that says include unmerged, unmerged is ActivReporter speak for posted. So if I untick it to show only posted entries, those two go away. But I'll put posted entries, unposted entries back, and you can see them. So say I have that saved in a batch, and I don't like that entry. That's the wrong entry. I want to go ahead and delete this batch. I'll hit delete. And again, keep your eyes on this line here, because this, once I delete it, they're gone. So what we have here is a fully live trial balance so that you can have managers or your higher up accounting staff looking at this and be able to see the entries that are being created in batches in real time. So that's the concept of the active trial balance. Now, this is also completely editable and customizable. I've got a few options over here that you can look at. I have a trial balance by category. So what this does is allow me to view, again, always live information about my account balances, but sorted into the categories that are created in GP. You can also do this by any roll-ups you have defined. So if you have a specific aggregation of accounts that you'd like to see the live trial balance for, you can create one of these views with that and keep track of it that way. I have one here that's just limited to my sales accounts. What this does is allow me to see by each sales location. I can see the amount of sales, returns and discounts, cost of goods sold, and then my total. And this is, again, completely live, not involving pulling a report or having to create a report or anything. This is able to be changed based on the calendar. In this case, I have the forever calendar up. So this is everything that's ever happened. And just again, we can double click on any one of these lines, and then I can look at any one of these items here. Let's go to total, and it's going to pull up the journal detail for that. So, as you might expect, every time we've seen journal detail, we also have the ability to go straight back into GP and pull the journal entry inquiry screen. So again, this is another fantastic tool for you to use. What you're able to do, oops, there's GP. What you're able to do is keep a bird's eye view of your data here in the trial balance, and then say you see something go in that you weren't expecting, and I want to see that 920 shouldn't be there. I can double click on it, look at that 920, this is what makes up that balance, and go, you know what, that 100, I don't think that should be there. And I can go right back into GP and look at it and see all the detail from there. So it's just a fantastic way to keep an eye on your data and see where everything is. So there's a few other features that we can go through. If you do have a company setup where you have multiple GP databases comprising multiple companies within GP, you may have noticed that I have several different gray bars here, all with different company names. These are all completely separate GP databases that I'm able to flip through really quickly. In GP, you have to go down to the bottom and you have to switch companies. In ActivReporter, I'm able to go from the trial balance here in Fabricam, and then I can go down to ActivReporter and look at the trial balance down here in what we call our university data set. This is data from a company that is allowing us to use their data, completely obscured, of course. And I'm able to pull information from this company and again get down to the journal detail and all of that without having to switch companies in GP. So it just makes it very easy to go through different companies. Let's look real quickly at a consolidated financial statement, jumping back into statements for a second. We're able to do consolidated financial statements between companies as well as just within one company. So let me open this. So this is actually a statement which is pulling from 4 different companies that I have different GP databases for. Of course, we've seen Fabricam already, but let's look at university. If I have their sales information here, and this is defined in the formula by referring to this text here. This tells the formula which company I'd like to pull the information from. When I drill down on that information, it pulls up from the University of College, just like you might expect. Even though they're separate companies in GP, ActivReporter doesn't put those walls up between them, so it's easy to get all of your information in one place. Same thing, of course, for my Gabricam and Habricam, very cleverly named, I know. You're able to get through and see all of your detail there without having to switch between companies. And of course, because it's GP, I'm able to use a simple sum function to get the sum of all 4 of these companies and view them together. Makes it very simple. And again, we're able to apply these options to look at different periods of all these different companies. I'll hit the calculate button to apply it, and all my numbers will change. Now you might notice that my period row up here has a different entry for university. The reason for that is Fabricam, Gabricam, and Habricam are all on a fiscal year which follows the calendar year. The university company is on a different fiscal year, which I can get around and display the same period of time as Fabricam by using a formula which, let me just say, it looks more intimidating than it actually is. What this does is actually reference the options dialog in order to translate that option into the current time period for the university. So if you have mismatching fiscal calendars, you don't have to worry about that. It's able to be consolidated anyway within ActivReporter. So again, this is a fantastic tool. Nothing, no new concepts in financial statements, only a much simpler way of getting it all done. Excel simplifies everything because you're able to leverage the capability that Excel has natively with these financial formulas, which pull information directly from your GP databases.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. So we're going to switch back to my little view here real quick, and we'll head on over to the next one. Sarah's helping me navigate here. So yes, just because we have a limited time in one webinar, we wanted to be sure to let you know that this isn't everything. Though ActivReporter is new to GP, we've been in the space with GP about 2 or 3 years now, but ActivReporter has actually been developed for over 15 years. So we have lots of features when it comes to things like specific user-based securities. So with all of the companies that Sarah was showing us, I may see GabberCam, but I may not actually even have access to GabberCam, or I may not see GabberCam at all. That can be very specific down to company levels, down to user levels. There is versioning available as well. So if you are using a report that you need to reference back to the one that you were pulling 6 months ago, then you can do that. Sarah already mentioned calendars in there for us. So there is much more to see. We'd love to have that opportunity to explore that with you, to show what some of these mean, like tailored automations and what that can do for you. So. But before we go into questions, I wanted to explain a little bit of the pricing structure for you, because I did say that it was budget friendly. So true to my word, we have the $1,000 initial implementation cost, and that helps with some of that license setup. So over on the right, you see what does that include. It's up to 10 companies within, so 10 databases that we can help set up with you. Unlimited users, so whoever wants access to ActivReporter, we can help get that set up for you. Unlimited installation time, that seeding and syncing to connect your databases, and then 4 hours of setup and training. So anything, training team members or putting together financial reports or building custom filters, anything like that that you saw, we can help with. So, and then there's that, like I said, the $1,000 initial and then $70 per month for the license fee. So there's a little example down there at the bottom that if you have 5 GP databases, you'll need 1 license. If you have 12, then you'll need 2. Now, if we're talking massive amounts of databases, then we'd love to take that conversation offline as well for special pricing structures in that, because we want to be able to accommodate in that way for you. So. And since Crestwood has been kind enough to host us today, and as a little hooray that we have all made it past year end, anyone who is on this webinar can receive an additional hour of support and training. Should you decide that ActivReporter is the solution for you, and that's an additional hour, like I said, to help build reports, train additional team members, make custom filters, whatever that needs to look like, we would love to help you with that. So. That's with that, we would love to welcome any questions that you might have. Please feel free to ask away. And if you think of more later, reach out to your GP consultant at Crestwood. They can help you get those answered or set up next steps to help you move forward. So thank you again, Amber, and we'll open the floor to any questions.
All right, thank you, ladies. We actually have a lot of questions today, which is awesome. So we'll start with, how does your product compare to other Excel-based reporting products?
So the easiest way to answer that is, well, of course, we're probably all thinking of the same Excel-based competitor here. That product specifically is built around a concept of expansion, where you'll enter one line, run the report, and then it'll expand out, which is a fantastic feature, I think, but it is a bit limiting. There's no concept of account aggregation unless you want to build each line separately, and it makes it a lot more complicated. You're not able to carry that account aggregation from report to report. It's limited to the one report which you defined it in. The best way that I think ActivReporter compares is that it doesn't try to turn Excel into its own program in which you create your report. What we do is we work with Excel. We have the ActivReporter program, which pulls all the data from GP, and then we go into Excel and we add these formulas which work alongside Excel and don't try to turn it into anything it isn't. We work with it in order to create these statements. So if there's a specific feature you want to ask about, a specific feature you've seen in another Excel-based reporting system that you'd like to see a comparison for, we can definitely address that.
All right, great. I'll just kind of through them so we can get to them in time. How many reports are available out of the box? Every report that we showed, or do you have to build every report that we showed today?
Sure. So talking about each report that is available, we have several that come right out of the box that we're able to do that template database, that template creation with. And I'll just pull this up. I'll just pull this up real quick and show you. So we have several layouts that come right out of the box. That's going to be those unformatted layouts that create the with the formulas and everything. And you've got several versions here, as well as a trial balance. And then we have some fully formatted samples that come with it as well. We have several more layouts and samples on the development end that haven't made it into the full product yet. So we're going to be adding to this. But if you're interested in the default layouts and samples that we have available, we do actually have a little PDF booklet that displays them all that we can send out. So there's, if you're looking for a specific number, it looks like we got eight layouts and 6 samples. But like I said, we're about doubling that, I think, in the next release.
Okay, awesome. All right, how easily, we touched on this a little bit, how easily does this work with multiple companies and currencies for consolidation?
Sure. So with multiple companies, you're able to, like I showed, you're able to pull in data from different companies within one statement that lives in any one of the companies. The company that it's saved in ActivReporter is immaterial to what data it can pull from. You're able to reference any company from any other company by using that formula. So that makes it pretty simple. As far as currencies, we're able to pull information from GP regarding the currencies that are used, and we're able to do simple translation, being that this is built within Excel. You're able to apply that simple translation across the board. But we are coming out in a next release. We're coming out with a little bit more, or one of these next releases, we're coming out with a little bit more concrete and formal translation process that pulls your data from GP so that we can apply that to your statement. But for right now, any sort of translation that you're going to want to do in your statements is going to have to be pretty much a manual process in Excel.
Okay. The next one says, do you have a way to convert FRX reports to ActivReporter?
FRX reports are, they're a little bit different than Management Reporter row definitions. So we don't have a one-to-one translation from FRX into ActivReporter, but I believe there's a translation process from FRX to Management Reporter if you'd like to go through that and then go into the translation to ActivReporter. But without doing that, it would be a manual process to create your roll-ups from row definitions in FRX.
Okay. And the last question says, we do not currently use Management Reporter. Can we still use this product?
Absolutely. We simply have translation available from Management Reporter to ActivReporter in order to make the transition more comfortable for the users. But you can definitely start from scratch in this product and create your roll-ups exactly how you'd like to see them without having them already created within Management Reporter. This is definitely a product that's pretty easy to get into and get started with, and you don't have to have any existing work in Management Reporter.
Thanks for watching. To learn more about our products, visit www.crestwood.com. Hope to see you there soon.